Hello everyone, Joshua Myers here, and today I'm going to be reviewing the John Carpenter horror classic, Halloween. The original Halloween. Not the one from 2007 by Rob Zombie titled Halloween, or not the one from David Gordon Green titled Halloween.
The one, the only, the classic Halloween.
I think he'll come back.
Halloween, the night he came home. Rated R.
So let me get this out of the way. I've seen the original Halloween, I think when I was about 13 or 14 years old. It wasn't my first horror movie that I ever saw. My first horror movie that I ever saw was the original Poltergeist. And that's what got me into horror. Now, honestly, I think, going even further back, I think, the TV show Goosebumps from the 90s actually got me into horror. Also, I saw this, found footage horror, documentary TV series that was on Animal Planet, Lost Tapes. I used to love that show. I still do. I have, the first all 3 seasons on DVD, so. And I still love the 90s Goosebumps show, actually. I still, I don't have as many of the DVDs as I did, but I did recently rebought some. And I also have the Goosebumps movie from 2015, I think, yeah. So, those, if it weren't for those 2 properties, I probably would have not been into horror, actually. Or at least be curious about it. Therefore, me seeing Poltergeist, and then watching all these other movies, I think I've seen countless upon countless of horror films at this point. A lot of them I haven't reviewed on my channel yet, so. And also, this wasn't my first Halloween film to see ever. And I kind of am sad to say this, but the first Halloween movie I ever saw was Halloween Resurrection. Let me explain that. So, at the time, me and Shay, we watching some movies from AMC Fear Fest, in my living room, on the couch, and one of the films that were coming out was one of the Halloween movies. I think they played some of the sequels in that, but we didn't got to all the other sequels in time, so the one that was showing at the time was Halloween Resurrection. I was like, okay, let's give it a go. And honestly, I did like that movie at the time, but thankfully I have developed a brain. But I will admit, I do kind of have a soft spot for Halloween Resurrection, mainly because it got me interested in the Halloween franchise, which is one of my favorite franchises. The only one that ties it, the only one that is the type of that is the Saw franchise. So yeah, I'm sad to admit it, but if it wasn't for Halloween Resurrection, I would have not been as big of a fan of the franchise as I am today. So yeah, I kind of thank that movie a little bit. That's just sad. Anyway, so what's the story about? So the story's about an escaped mental patient by the name of Michael Myers, who heads back into town years later as an adult and starts another killing spree, and he's seemingly to be targeting Jamie Lee Curtis's character, Laurie Strode, and her free group of friends. The film takes place entirely on Halloween day and night. In fact, most of the movie takes place at night. But there's a lot of day shots, and even the day shots are kind of eerie. And you also have Michael Myers' crazed psychologist, Dr. Loomis, played by Donald Pleasence. rest in peace, buddy. And he tries to hunt down Michael Myers because he believes that Michael Myers is nothing but simply and purely evil. So that's basically the gist of the original Halloween. Let's now talk about the characters. Laurie Strode. I think she's still a really good final girl. Not the best final girl of a horror franchise, I will admit. At least in that first movie. Honestly, I kind of like Heather Langenkamp as Nancy in the first Nightmare on Elm Street better than Jamie Lee Curtis as Laurie Strode in the first Halloween movie. To be honest. So, but not saying she's bad, no. So she and her group of friends are babysitters and that, well, two of them are, and she's babysitting, like they're babysitting, from houses across the street from each other, and, now, Laurie Strode isn't a party girl, nothing like that. She's really, kind of an innocent character. She's shy, nervous, so nervous that she doesn't really want to act out at you guys and that. Although she did use a joint in the movie. That's something I think a lot of people don't realize until later, and it's like, wow, she lived, because normally it's like, once you do drugs or stuff like that in horror movies, that automatically means you're dead. So, yeah, but, she's not full of herself, nothing like that, and, she does everything she could to take care of the kid she's babysitting, Tommy Doyle, played by, Brian Andrews, and, yeah, he's serviceable, I mean, he's not a bad kid actor, I will say. He wasn't a bad kid actor. He was serviceable, and he and Dr. Loomis were the only ones who really knew what was going on, for the most part, so, yeah, and also, you got one of Laurie's friends, Annie Brackett, portrayed by, Nancy Kyes, and she's okay as well, nothing much to her, really, and she's babysitting, this girl, Lindsay Wallace, portrayed, by, also you got, Annie's father, who is the sheriff of the town, Sheriff Brackett, portrayed by Charles Cyphers. And Dr. Loomis tries to recruit Sheriff Brackett to help him stop Michael Myers. So, also you got another one of their friends, PJ Souls, who portrays Linda. And she's very much like the cheerleader, kind of like, I guess you could say the slut of the movie, in a sense. She's the one that ends up hooking up with a guy, having sex, and then, drinking beer. So, yeah, so I think all the characters are serviceable. The one that's the best character, I think, in the movie is Dr. Loomis, portrayed by Donald Pleasence. He brings, Donald Pleasence brings it to the role. And in fact, he's portrayed the character ever since until his unfortunate passing in 1995, with Halloween 6 being the last film he's ever done. And, seriously, if there's one actor I would have really liked to meet, it would have been Don Pleasance. That would have been awesome, actually. So, plus he just seemed like a really sweet guy, you know? So, and so yeah, basically he has portrayed a character up until the day he dies. Now that's dedication. Like, that's some real dedication right there. And also let's talk about the main terror of the movie, Michael Myers. There's really not much to him if you really think about it. There's not much of a character in that. He's just a blank slate. He's just this walking, like, basically the shape of the man is basically like almost a vessel for the horror. And it's like you see nothing but like this blank face, pure black eyes, the devil's eyes. Yeah, he has no remorse, no conscience, no understanding, nothing. The only thing is that he kills, and kills. And they keep Michael Myers, like, and most of you guys probably know who Michael Myers is. He's, if not, I'll just show a picture. And yes, that's me wearing the costume, so, and yeah, honestly, so far, I think this is honestly the best portrayal of Michael Myers throughout the franchise. Like, they keep him in the shadow a lot. You don't really see Michael Myers too much. Now let's also talk about the death scenes. So, like, the kills in this movie. The kills are really iconic. And here's the thing. It's not really as graphic as you would think. In fact, there's no blood in this movie whatsoever. It's completely goreless. It's completely bloodless. So, which I prefer films that do that. You know, like, the less is more. Because whatever you think of in your head is probably scarier than anything any of us could put on screen. So, which therefore makes it better, like, a much more scary experience. So, and this movie is slow paced, and I think it needs to be. And I think there's a lot of films that do need to be slower paced for this type of, like, horror. And also, like I said about the kills, the most famous kill in this movie, I believe, and it's my favorite out of the whole franchise, is when Linda's boyfriend Bob goes into the kitchen to grab a beer, and he hears breathing and that, and he thinks it's Linda messing with him, and he opens the door, and Michael comes out, and, well, here's a clip. And here's the thing, too, it's like, what I think, in my personal opinion, what really made that scene iconic is that the fact that after Michael kills Bob, he just basically is like, almost admiring his work. It's almost like dog-like or something. So, and that's kind of creepy. And that's something that's become iconic, like, thing about Michael Myers, that they end up utilizing in the rest of the movies. So yeah, and now let's also talk about the production of the film. So this was a low-budget film at the time. It cost them about $25,000 to make the film. I think like the $5,000 or the $2,000 actually went to paying Donald Pleasence to be in the movie. So, and John Carpenter mainly used family, friends, or just a bunch of nobodies. In fact, Jamie Lee Curtis at the time was a nobody. In fact, she's the daughter of Janet Leigh, who portrayed Marion Crane in Psycho. So, and I think they shot for about 18 days, something like that. And that's a short amount of time. And John Carpenter was barely out of film school at the time, so. And honestly, for me, it's like, one of the things, like, if you have not noticed with any of my films, especially horror films, one of the styles filmmaking. Now, one of the influence of my style of filmmaking is John Carpenter with how he did Halloween. So, like, if you notice it with a lot of my horror films I've done lately, I try to bring a John Carpenter-esque vibe to them. Even films that were never really directed by John Carpenter, like Nightmare on Elm Street, Friday the 13th, Saw. So yeah, John Carpenter is definitely a big influence for me as a filmmaker. Especially when it comes to horror movies. Also, speaking of John Carpenter, he also composed the score for this movie. And the score is just iconic. I mean, just listen to this. How can you not say that that's iconic? In fact, even before I got into horror films, they had this children's Halloween party CD, and one of the themes they had was the Halloween theme. And here was the version that I listened to all those years ago. I didn't know what that theme was from, or I honestly just thought it was like they really made a theme for the holiday, and honestly, now after seeing the movies and that, honestly, I don't see how it can't be the main music theme of the holiday. It just matches it so perfectly. So I'm going to give the original Halloween a 5 out of 5 stars. I'm sorry, even though I noticed there's some flaws with the movie, some things haven't aged that well. I'm sorry, it's still a perfect movie in my book. It's a film that I would probably end up rewatching a lot of times, and this film is so perfect, I didn't need to rewatch it for this review. Because I watch it a lot of times. I've rewatched it a bunch. I studied the hell out of this movie. And it's like I really didn't need to rewatch it for this review. So that's it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. And remember, everyone's entitled to one good scare.